I just want to start by asking a very simple question. Why are
Right.
health insurance policies often so complicated? Especially when you become a senior citizen and you have to deal with so many questions and queries and understanding ki age limits kya hai aur kitna milne wala hai. Why does it get complicated?
Right. So it's a good question. In fact, it's complicated for any age group, maybe slightly more for seniors. It would be nice to just show a few slides. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. So that will maybe give a better picture. I don't know if people can see my screen. Are you able to all see my screen?
Ab-
So just to, one second. Are you seeing only the screen, or can you see people as well on the screen, or just the screen?
Just the screen.
Okay, good. Okay. So quickly, just to understand, so this why are policies so complicated? So the first thing, I mean, we need to get to the root of this problem, and the biggest problem that we see is that just like there's normal inflation, which depending on where you read the news is between 5 to 6 or maybe 7%, the inflation in India is for medical in the medical sector is about 14%. It is the highest in Asia, and it's one of the highest in the world. And there are several reasons for this. Post-COVID, there's a lot of demand for healthcare services because we have gone through quite a turbulent period. So people are doing preventive care. There are a lot of lifestyle changes that came to our country post-liberalization, the kind of food we eat, the kind of jobs we do. And so that's causing a toll now, 10, 15 years later. And of course, there's a huge surge in medical tourism. So in spite of this inflation, India is still, if you look at the quality of medical expertise we have in this country, it's still much, much cheaper than what is available in most countries. Okay. So I'm getting to the answer, but the main thing is that there's medical inflation. And so how does this medical inflation impact all of us? So the first thing is obviously there's a rise in medical expenses, which is uh, general drugs and medications that we take, medical equipment, hospitalization, caregiving, etc. But the main thing is we don't realize this. Most of us don't realize this inflation. You must be surprised at this word 14%. By the way, 14% means costs double every 5 years. That's what it means. Okay. So something that's say 5 lakh today, a procedure will be 10 lakhs about 2028, 2029. Okay. And that's how it's been for the last many years. But we don't realize this because our relationship with this industry is mainly medicines, right? So we buy a strip of medicines for maybe 150 rupees. The next time we go 3, 4 months, 1 year later, buy another strip or so. If it's 172 rupees, we don't even realize this inflation, right? Because it's a very small amount. So, but it's there, and we'll only realize this when we are hospitalized, when we have these big ticket expenses. And on the other hand, and more relevant to this question, why insurance policies are so complicated, is that the premiums of insurance also goes up. Because obviously, if someone has to pay for your hospitalization, then that person also has to take more money, right? To collect more money from the group. So now the problem here is insurance is already a very low penetrated product in India. That means hardly 8% of urban population is covered. And if the entire India is looked at, it's about 2.5 to 3.5%. There are varied numbers out there. So this is still a new product. Companies are trying to get in, and here they are forced to raise the premiums, right? So the reason why it's complicated is at the end of the day, they cannot give all features in one policy. Here I've showed a small subsection of different features. They're not able to give all features in a single policy because the price will be really, really high, right? So there's usually a trade-off. So this policy will have these features, but not so much of some other features. Some other policy will have those features, but not so much of these features. I don't know if people remember, but about 20 years back, when you buy a car, the left side mirror was optional. I don't remember if anybody remembers this. They would say the base variant mein left mirror nahi aayega. So if you want left mirror, you have to go top up or you have to take a add-on, right? Yeah, so that's the exact system now that the base policies don't have a lot of bells and whistles, right? And so you need to firstly know which base policy to choose because it's complex, because they may not have everything you need. Some policies have a host of add-ons. You need to make sure that you pick the right add-ons. So hence it's very complicated. The main reason is because premiums are high. And if they give all features in one huge policy, the price is going to be astronomically high. And that's why it's quite tough for someone to actually select a policy. For senior citizens, there's one more layer on top of this. This is very general for everybody, but seniors also come with, unfortunately, different diseases, right? Pre-existing conditions. So this could be diabetes or cholesterol or blood pressure, asthma, thyroid. So they have this extra thing which probably slightly younger people do not have in their 20s and 30s. Understand. This example will probably explain सबको कि सबसे common problem क्या होता है. So imagine ये scenario जहाँ पे cover is about someone has a insurance policy with a cover of about 15 lakh rupees. Okay. And this is a typical bill. So इसमें room rent. So imagine a person who's hospitalized for about 7 days. उसमें room rent है 10,000 per day. तो 70,000. ICU charges 20,000. So out of the 7 days, 3 days ये ICU में था unfortunately. And that came to 60,000, 20K per day. उसके अलावा the surgery, there was a procedure. So let's say it was something related to the liver, for example. उसका था 2 lakhs. Tests were about 1,50,000. Medicines थे 80,000. And doctor के जो visits होते हैं, morning and evening. So usually there are 2 visits per day, na? Morning they'll come and say, how did you, everything fine? And evening they'll come and say, hope you have a good night. And इसके लिए about 3,000 per visit and came to 42K. तो ये bill हुआ 6 lakhs. Okay. Now it looks like a very open and shut case. Na? Cover है 15 lakh, bill है 6 lakh. There is no comparison. मतलब ये half भी नहीं है like cover का, right? So then you go to your insurance provider and you say, okay, please settle this claim. And then the first thing he'll say, sir, just 1 second. I have one small point to say. आपका जो यहाँ पे है room rent का, तो यहाँ पे 70,000 दिखा रहा है ना. So there is one problem there. So you say, what's the problem? Then he'll say, sir, I'll just take you to your policy. वहाँ पे लिखा है कि your limit is 5,000 per day. तो you're like, क्या 5,000 room rent limit भी होता है क्या चीज? Okay, so then you're like, okay, and then you find out कि 5,000 है. So basically what is he saying? He's saying कि ये जो 10,000 per day है, we can only cover 5,000 per day. तो basically हुआ 35,000. Claim में we will cover 35,000. तो you're like, ठीक है, okay, better room था, comfortable था, problem नहीं है. तो you say, ठीक है, so let's do one thing, 35 ठीक है, तो बाकी 35,000 मैं अपनी जेब से देता हूँ एंड देन यू कैन कवर जो बैलेंस है. तो इस केस में 5,67,000 आ गया बैलेंस. ओके, सो 6,02,000 का 5,67,000 हो गया. कूल. ओके, सो फार सो गुड. तो and now you're like, okay, unfortunately I should have kept this point of room rent. Then he'll say, sir, but एक और चीज है, sorry, ICU charges भी क्या होता है ना सर, यूजुअली जो रूम रेंट होता है उसका डबल ICU का भी लिमिट होता है पॉलिसी में. सो नाउ एंड द हॉस्पिटल ऑल्सो डज द सेम पॉलिसी कि अगर ये 10,000 है तो ICU 20,000 होता है. तो नाउ यू आर लाइक, ओ ओके, और एक झटका. तो बेसिकली ये जो 60,000 का बिल ये सेक्शन है, दे गिव यू अगेन हाफ ईयर. ओके, सो यहाँ पे 35,000 गया जेब से, यहाँ ICU के लिए 30,000. सो नाउ यू आर लाइक, ओके, नाउ यू आर गेटिंग लिटिल मोर अपसेट कि 6 लाख में से अभी 40,000 चला गया ऑलमोस्ट. I can hear some echo. I think someone's. Okay, ठीक है. Yeah. So basically, now it's like you're losing about 65,000 from your pocket, and you're like, ठीक है, अभी you're a little angry with yourself कि you did not look at the fine print, but ठीक है. So now, just for the audience, if you don't remember anything else that I say in this session, please remember this next point. So basically, क्या होता है ना, he'll tell you one more thing. And that is the most important thing, that 95% policies in India, in fact, all policies have it, but it makes a difference in 95% policies. And that is something called proportionate deduction. So it's tough to understand all this. That's the biggest problem, that when you read all this in the policy document, you won't understand. So let me try to explain. What proportionate deduction means is that the insurance company says that whatever percentage I cover your room rent, the same percentage I will cover everything else in your bill except medicines. तो ये होता है proportionate deduction, that whatever percentage, so if I cover 80% of your room rent, I will cover 80% of everything else except medicines, because medicines have to, it's a IRDA. IRDA is like the TRI of health insurance, Insurance Development and Regulatory Authority of India. They said ये MRP पे होना चाहिए, you can't do anything there. So other than that, everything will go in the same proportion. So now look what's happening. ओके, तो बिकॉज यहाँ पे रूम रेंट लिमिट था 5,000 रुपीज, आपने लिया, हमने लिया 10,000 रुपीज का रूम, सो 50% रेशियो हुआ, राइट, प्रपोर्शन, सो दे आर कवरिंग 50% ऑफ द रूम. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट एवरीथिंग एल्स, सर्जरी चार्जेस 2,50,000 का दे गिव 1,25,000, मेडिसिन का 60,000, दैट इज ओके, दे गिव 60,000, और जो फाइनली डॉक्टर विजिट्स थे दैट 42,000 में से वो लोग हाफ ही दे देंगे हमको, तो वो हो गया 21,000. सो नाउ इसको अप्लाई करने के बाद यू आर इन कंप्लीट शॉक, राइट, यू आर इन लाइक, नाउ इट्स लाइक डिजास्टर टाइम कि ये क्या हो रहा है, 15 लाख का पॉलिसी ले लिया था, या 6 लाख का, ऑलमोस्ट जस्ट 3.5 lakhs भी नहीं मिल रहा है. एंड देन यू आर रियली फीलिंग बैड एंड यू डोंट नो व्हाट टू डू, बट क्या कर सकता है, दिस इज रिटन क्लियरली ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट इन द पॉलिसी, हमने देखा नहीं था, सो देयर इज नथिंग यू कैन डू. एंड देन यू से ओके फाइन, यू विल कम आउट थिंकिंग कि मेरे को चेंज करना पड़ेगा पॉलिसी इसके बाद एंड ऑल दैट, एंड दिस इज एग्जैक्टली द सिनारियो. Okay, so I can take questions on this later, but if please remember this one point कि room rent कितना difference करता है एक policy, एक claim के अंदर, okay? And then he'll say, but sir, so this is basically this is it, 6,02,000, or we are getting back 3,31,000. And after this entire calculation is done, he will tell you one more point, sir, 1 minute sir, आपका 20% co-payment भी है इसमें, आपके policy में there was a clause called co-payment. Co-payment is basically when you buy a policy, either the policy will say we will cover 100% of your bill, basically as per our terms and conditions, 100%, or it may say I'll give you a slightly cheaper premium. So premium थोड़ा कम होगा, but you share the burden of the payment, right? 10% or 20% or 30%. So many people basically discounts के चक्कर में these agents, they end up selling policies जिसमें co-payment होता है. तो वो 10 से 30% तक हो सकता है. I've given an example of 20. तो ये सब कैलकुलेशन के बाद जो उनका पार्ट हुआ 3,31,000, आपने ऑलरेडी एग्री किया कि उनके पार्ट में से यू विल टेक 20%. तो ये हुआ 66,000, एंड देन सो ये हुआ ग्रैंड टोटल, तो आपको मिलेगा 2,65,000 अप्रोक्सीमेटली, विच मीन्स कि 44% ही उनके साइड से आया इसमें. एंड ये जो एक टर्म होता है आउट ऑफ पॉकेट एक्सपेंडिचर, अपने पॉकेट से, अपने जेब से 3,37,000 का आ गया, 56% अपने जेब से किया, इन स्पाइट ऑफ हैविंग अ 15 लाख पॉलिसी फॉर अ 6 लाख बिल. सो बेसिकली ये दो चीज जो है, room rent ka capping, which leads to proportionate deduction, and second co-payment, are there in 95% policies out there. So we should make sure that we don't have these in our policies at all. So just before ending this answer, I just want to be clear. Let's understand if this proportionate deduction is fair or not. So basically, insurance side say they are saying ki, see, there is one problem. So insurance says that hospitals, they charge differently for everything based on the room. ओके, सो जो सेम डॉक्टर का जो विजिट होता है, इफ इट्स अ शेयर्ड रूम, द प्राइस में बी 1,000 रुपीज पर विजिट, पर उसके बगल में इफ देर इज अ सम स्वीट और अ डिलक्स रूम, वहां पे होगा 3,000 रुपीज पर पर विजिट. ओके, सो द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी सेइंग, देख अपना एक डील हुआ था, वी सेड यू विल टेक 5,000 का रूम, 5,000 के रूम में आई वुड हैव कवर्ड एवरीथिंग, नो प्रॉब्लम, पर आपने हायर वाला रूम लिया, सबका दाम अभी इंक्रीज हो गया उसमें, सो इट्स नॉट फेयर फॉर अस टू पे इट, right? So now seems pretty fair, right? Because they have to, because they have to pay extra for everything. On the other hand, we went to the hospitals also. So we went to hospitals and asked them, why do you do this differential pricing? So what we realized is, in all developing countries, it's here, it's in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Brazil, most Latin American countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, most developing countries, all developing countries, in fact, the problem there is that there is no medical access, good medical access for the poor. So I would say, now that you're aware of this, it's the onus is on us buyers to choose correctly and upgrade to the right policies to avoid such deductions.
Wow. So basically reading the fine prints and looking at room capping and looking at co-payment is very, very important for all of us.
Correct. In fact, this is a small summary of that. So please avoid, out of all these features that I showed you in the beginning, please avoid policies with room rent limits. Please avoid taking any policy with co-payment. And there's one more thing, which is this thing called disease-wise sublimits here on the left. So basically, some policies, even though you have 15 lakh ka cover, they'll say, like in cancer ka maximum 2 lakh per year. Cataract ka maximum, 50,000 per year. या नी रिप्लेसमेंट का होगा 1 लाख पर ईयर। सो ये जो सब लिमिट्स होते हैं, कुछ कुछ काफी पॉलिसीज में ये सब लिमिट्स होते हैं। तो लिमिट है आपका 10 या 15 lakhs का पर ईयर, बट दे से दैट्स फॉर योर एंटायर खर्चा, फॉर ऑल योर मेडिकल एक्सपेंसेस। बट हर एक मतलब अलग अलग प्रोसीजर्स के लिए भी ये लिमिट्स होते हैं, सब लिमिट्स। ओके, सो प्लीज अवॉइड दीज थ्री एट एनी कॉस्ट, हाउ एवर मच डिस्काउंट यू गेट और वट एवर दे विल से, प्लीज डोंट फॉल फॉर इट। दिस इज देयर मैजिक बुलेट, मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा है, दिस इज देयर मैजिक बुलेट, कि दे वांट टू पुट दीज क्लॉजेस देयर सो दैट क्लेम के टाइम पे दे विल सेव मनी।
इज देयर एनी वे, इज देयर एनी पॉसिबिलिटी कि वो पैसे ही ना दे? अभी तो चलो वो दे आर गिविंग यू 40% ऑफ द टोटल क्लेम,
हाँ,
राइट? देयर
हाँ,
एनी पॉसिबिलिटी दैट दे कैन डिनाई एंड से हम तो जीरो देंगे, हम तो देंगे ही नहीं आपको?
हाँ, of course, but this is the more common problem. Partial claim का है most common problem. That is the biggest thing that, like, out of 10 people, maybe 7 or 8 will, if they have a problem, it will be this. But you're right. There is also the zero claim problem, which we call the zero claim problem. तो उसमें क्या होता है? So first reason is pre-existing conditions, especially for seniors who have these. I would request everyone, when you take your policy or move to a new policy, whatever, please be 100% honest, राइट? प्रीमियम के चक्कर में डोंट से बीपी था लेकिन अभी बॉर्डर लाइन है मत लिखिएगा। डोंट से दीज थिंग्स, राइट? बिकॉज व्हेन यू से दीज थिंग्स, राइट, आई नो वेयर यू कमिंग फ्रॉम, यू वरीड अबाउट द प्रीमियम, बट इट्स बेटर टू नॉट गिव फ्री मनी ना। कम प्रीमियम, सपोज एक चीज, सपोज प्री एग्जिस्टिंग कंडीशन के साथ सपोज इट इज 40,000 पर ईयर, एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ, और उसके बिना होता है 37,000 पर ईयर। तो आपको 40,000 विद फुल प्रोटेक्शन अच्छा लगेगा, या 37,000 विच इज फ्री एंड देन एट द टाइम ऑफ क्लेम दे विल से ये नहीं कवर होगा? So it's obviously better to be smart about it and tell with full honesty. And in fact, if there's a medical, if you can take a medical test at that time and just give the report and say, मैंने declare कर दिया सब कुछ, that's always the best thing. So this is the first reason why they will say कि ये pre-existing था, आपने बताया नहीं, so we will not, so we will not participate in the claim. So that's number one. The second thing is, when you buy a policy, तीन type के waiting periods होते हैं. The first waiting period is the initial waiting period when you buy a policy for the first time. Okay, not every year. First time जब start करते हैं policy, 30 days का waiting period होता है, because basically मानो कि today I go to the hospital and some doctor says आपके इसमें हार्ट में ब्लॉक है, एंड आपको जल्दी से अगले 2 दिन में आपको सर्जरी करना पड़ेगा सपोज। ओके, देन आई से मैडम प्लीज डॉक्टर कुछ डोंट राइट एनीथिंग राइट नाउ, मेरे को एक्चुअली पॉलिसी लेना है, मेरे पास पॉलिसी नहीं है, मैं पॉलिसी बाजार से एक ले लूंगा आज शाम को एंड कल मैं आता हूँ वापस, एंड देन लिखिएगा आप। सो देन दिस इज अ लूप होल, राइट? तो देन नोबडी विल टेक अ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी, एवरीवन विल टेक इट ओनली एट दैट मोमेंट। तो ये ऑब्वियसली विल नॉट वर्क आउट फॉर इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज, इसलिए वो 30 डेज का एक वेटिंग पीरियड होता है whenever you start, because emergency केस में nobody will wait for 30 days. सेकेंड चीज ये है कि ये जो स्पेसिफिक इलनेस है, इट्स एक्चुअली बेटर कॉल्ड और इजियर अंडरस्टूड एज स्लो ग्रोइंग इलनेसेस। ये जो स्लो ग्रोइंग इलनेसेस होते हैं, लाइक कैटरैक्ट, नी रिप्लेसमेंट, किडनी स्टोन, गॉल ब्लैडर स्टोन, ये जो चीजें होते हैं, द फर्स्ट टाइम यू गेट सम सिम्टम्स, यू डोंट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग इमीडिएटली, प्रॉब्ली 1-2 साल लगता है टू एक्चुअली डू समथिंग, इट विल डिटीरियरेट टू अ लार्ज एक्सटेंट एंड देन ओनली यू विल डू सम इंटरवेंशन। ठीक है, तो ये जो चीजें हैं, दे आर कवर्ड आफ्टर 2 years। ठीक है, so that's the second thing. So if you go in the first 30 days for anything other than accidents, now accidents are covered from day one because that is not something you can cheat a company na, ये तो act of God होता है almost, you slip and fall, you have a car accident, so that's okay, that is all covered from day one. But जो disease related होते हैं, they are covered from 30 days, so in that period they'll say we will not participate. Second, specific ये जो slow growing illnesses है first 2 years के लिए, and that is irrespective of the policy you take, these two first points, 30 day का और 2 year का, is then all policies common, it's almost like an IRDA standard. Now, इसके अलावा seniors particularly, or even sometimes some non-seniors may have some pre-existing condition where the waiting period for that will be 3 to 4 years. So basically, the insurance company will say, I will take this risk of covering you. You have diabetes or you have cholesterol. I know that there's a higher chance of you contracting some illness related to this, but so to just balance it out, I will not cover anything related to that for 3 to 4 years. Okay. So this is another reason why they would not participate if you come with any of these during that period. The next thing is important for seniors is modern treatments. So modern treatments like robotic surgery, stem cell therapy, oral chemotherapy, all these different things are getting more and more popular. Most policies, especially the older ones, do not cover modern treatments. Today itself, there are quite a few things that are covered by modern treatments. Going forward, 5 years, 10 years down the line, there'll be a lot more. So we need to make sure that modern treatments are covered. Otherwise, if it's a treatment that they don't cover, they will not participate. The next thing is it's more logistics. You need to intimate your insurance company properly. तो या आपका हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन दो तरीके के हो सकते हैं, या तो प्लान्ड हो सकता है जहाँ पे डॉक्टर बोलता है इन एडवांस कि अगले सैटरडे को कर लेंगे, ऑपरेशन थिएटर बुक हम लोग बुक करेंगे, लेकिन हमको करना पड़ेगा शाम को, वट एवर इट इज, राइट। उस केस में 48 to 72 आवर्स, मतलब 2 या 3 दिन पहले से ही हमको ये इंटीमेशन देना पड़ेगा टू द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी। द अदर ऑप्शन इज द अनप्लान्ड वन। अनप्लान्ड इज एन इमरजेंसी वन, लाइक समवन इज suddenly ill and you take them. उस केस में भी 24 hours के अंदर you or your, obviously if you are the one who's ill, not you, then somebody in the family must intimate the company, because बहुत सारे fraud cases होते हैं, once people, this is India unfortunately, and I don't say it with a lot of pride, but होता है ये चीज कि even when there's no hospitalization, some bill and all may come, right? Some company can do this because इसके पास insurance है, तो they'll give you some money, they'll give you a cut and say please आपके नाम पे मेरे को कुछ bills डालने हैं, मेरे को कुछ claims डालने हैं, तो this is there. So they may come as a surprise check and actually see if this hospitalization has happened. तो इसलिए हमको 24 hours के अंदर बोलना पड़ेगा उनको आफ्टर द हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन। एंड लास्ट इज रीएम्बर्समेंट के केसेस है। रीएम्बर्समेंट केसेस बेसिकली जो नेटवर्क हॉस्पिटल्स नहीं होते हैं, राइट, तो जहाँ पे जो बिल आता है वील हैव टू पे इट फर्स्ट, एंड उसके बाद बिल्स देख के वो रीएम्बर्स हो जाता है पूरा। सो उसका ऑल्सो अलग अलग कंपनी के अलग रूल्स होते हैं, टिपिकली विद 30 to 90 days होता है, वो कंपनी डिपेंडेंट होता है। एंड द last point is, please remember this point, everyone is very focused on network hospitals, but there are also, like I told you, frauds hote rehte hain. So when they find out that a hospital has done a fraud, particular insurance companies will blacklist a hospital. Other policies that do cover a few of them, then there are policies that cover most of them, but they have a lot of caps, like you said. But there are also policies that do not have too many cappings, maybe one or two things here and there, which we have to go to the fine print and see. But there are also policies that do not have these cappings. So I would always suggest that we go with policies that do not have cappings. Of course, this is not one of the most, like today, let's say, it's not one of the most critical capping that can cause a problem, because the number of robotic surgeries are still minimal. But your point is well taken. And going forward, I mean, the whole purpose of this is to be better prepared for the future. So we should go and make sure that we have policies which cover as many modern treatments as possible with as minimal restrictions as possible. I hope that's answered your question, sir, the first question.
Yes.
Okay, so the second question, as far as, so it's always better, if you go by the thumb rule, it's always better to go to a hospital which has cashless, because usually when it's a cashless hospital, a networked hospital, these companies, they negotiate a better rate for these different surgeries. So like take an example, Hospital X has a tie-up with Insurance Y. So Insurance Y would have already gone and negotiated rates saying that, I will only give you cashless, because it's good for hospitals to have a wide cashless network. Then more people, if more insurance companies have cashless in, say, this hospital, more people will come there, because most people don't like to pay. So usually it's better to take cashless because there is a slight price advantage, which people don't know, but definitely these companies, the insurance companies, get a discount there.
My own personal experience on going for cashless has been that I didn't have to see, otherwise you have to, take all the prescriptions, all the papers, scan them, send it, and then it becomes my responsibility to make sure everything is in place.
Yes.
Whereas, when I am getting discharged, it may take little extra time if it is cashless compared to, swiping a credit card and getting out of the admission room. So
Yes.
my personal experience has been, so you have endorsed the point. And another question is, when, when a patient declares that, he has pre-existing conditions, I know that the premium gets jacked up a little bit.
Mhm.
However, as time passes, would the premium get normalized, or he will always be paying X amount in excess throughout his policy period?
So that's a good question. So it depends on different companies. There are some companies. So it depends on the extent. So it's a little complicated answer, right? It depends on the extent of this pre-existing condition. Now, if it's borderline diabetes, for example, then there is nothing called an extra loading charge. All they will do is they will say that I will cover diabetes after 3 or 4 years. If you want me to cover diabetes from the beginning, then you pay a little extra. And
What are the key features one senior should look when choosing a health insurance, right? How do you choose the right kind of coverage and the right kind of insurance?
right. So basically, we have actually seen what not to choose. So these are three things that we should definitely not have, right? So let me start there. No room rent capping, no co-payment, no disease-wise sublimits. Okay. So this is number one. So what not to have. Let's also look at a few things that I think we must have. And let me talk about the first thing. The first thing is to cover consumables. Now, consumables are those one-time disposable items like syringes, cotton, masks, band-aids, etc. that you use one time. Okay. And they're quite expensive in the hospitals. And you will typically see 10 to 15% of your bill is consumables. So in a bill of about 6 lakhs, it could be about 80,000 to a lakh could just be consumables in your hospital stay. So most policies do not cover consumables. So please make sure to take a policy that either has consumables by default, or you also take an add-on to include consumables in your cover by paying a little extra, right? When you buy the policy. The biggest problem is many of these things cannot be taken midway during the policy. So when you start, many companies say you have to choose your add-ons now itself. Year on year, I will not allow you to change add-ons. Many companies say this. So it's always good to keep that in mind. Number one. The second thing for seniors particularly is something called restoration. So now there are two types of policies, with restoration and without restoration. Let me explain this. So let's say there's a couple, one of you and your wife have a cover of say 10 lakh rupees. And let's say the husband in this cover gets a hospitalization and the bill comes to say about 6 lakh rupees. So typically, if you don't have restoration, out of 10 lakhs, 6 is used. So you have 4 lakhs left. 4 lakhs बाकी होता है for the rest of the year. दोनों के लिए, right? But अगर restoration होता है policy में, this 4 lakhs is restored or refilled back to 10 lakhs for the rest of the year. तो मोटा मोटा इसका मतलब यह है कि हर हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन के लिए 10 लाख होगा अपने पास. That's what it means. Because every time you use less than 10 lakhs, वो वापस 10 तक refill हो जाता है. Got it? So restoration now, that is not a very critical feature for people in their 30s, 20s, 40s. But for seniors, especially when one organ starts misfiring for some reason, right? Like a kidney or a lung or a heart, we see these problems. And then, you have poor seniors have to, due to age, no fault of their own usually, have to keep going back to the hospital for that same thing. And restoration also, please be careful. There are a lot of companies saying in mota restoration with a lot of restrictions. They will say, मैं आपके लिए restore नहीं करूंगा, जिसने, like in that example, for the husband, they won't restore. Wife के लिए they'll restore. We don't want such policies. Third thing that is a must-have feature is a bonus system. So some policies जो है, आप जब renew करते हो policy, they will not increase. So for example, अगर 10 लाख का पॉलिसी है, नेक्स्ट ईयर आप रिन्यू करते हो पॉलिसी को, तो 10 लाख ही रहता है. This sounds good on paper, but I would not suggest policies with no claim bonus for two reasons. One is ये conditional bonus होता है, मतलब only when you don't claim you get that bonus, right? That's the problem. The second problem is that once a senior gets an issue, मान लो कि 5 साल, so imagine आपका पॉलिसी 10 लाख में से 20 लाख हो गया and 20 लाख मैक्स है, वहां पे it's stuck. नाउ बिकॉज एक मैक्सिमम होता है, ओके, ये बोनस का मैक्सिमम होता है. तो एवरी ईयर जो नो क्लेम होता है 4 टाइम्स होने के बाद, यूजुअली डबल होने के बाद वो स्टॉप होता है. तो 10 से 20 हो गया ना. उसके बाद अगर आपका एक क्लेम होता है सपोज इन द 6th ईयर और 7th ईयर, ठीक है, उसके बाद जब आप रिन्यू करें नेक्स्ट ईयर, जब आप रिन्यू करने के लिए जाओगे, दे विल से ओ आपने क्लेम किया लास्ट ईयर, सो दिस ईयर 20 से हम लोग 17.5 कर रहे हैं आपका ये. फिर और एक क्लेम हुआ नेक्स्ट ईयर, तो उससे वापस 15 हो जाता है. So like that, it can go back to 10. So the problem is when seniors need the most money in their last few years, 3, 4, 5 years, because of no claim, it goes back down. But please ensure you have at the very minimum, don't have these three things, and please have these three things.
So typically, when you talk about restoration, consumable covers, cumulative bonus, my mother, for example, has a top up and has Optima and all of those things, right? So are there any specific coverage options that one should actually look forward to or should avail of, given all of these in mind?
I think so it's not so much the coverage option, it is more of the company. So what we have to look at is every company has something called the claim settlement ratio. Okay. So every company will have policies. They'll have a lot of policies with all these constraints and without these features, but they'll also have one policy, usually a hero policy, where these things are not there, and the things that I told you should be there are there. Okay, most companies are. HDFC का एक है, Care का एक है, Aditya Birla का होगा, Niva Bupa का होगा. But the issue is now which of these heroes, they're slightly different up and down, and we have to see which one is the best for each individual or each couple, senior couple. However, what's more important is to see the claim settlement ratio of the company, right? And not last year, the last 3 to 5 years maybe, to see the consistency in that. So the industry average of claim settlement ratio is 90%. इसका मतलब यह है कि 100 में से 90 claims are settled. Only 10 reject होता है उस केस में. That to select the right company, this claim support is the most important thing. So one is the claim settlement ratio, which should be above 90%. Number one. The second thing is claim support. Now, what is claim support? So usually every insurance company will say, yeah, apna toll-free number hai, please call, right? So there'll be somebody there who will help you typically. But usually the problem with claim support ye hai ki most of them, they cover only these first 3 things. That is pre-admission, they'll help some query, thoda sa paperwork, they may follow up a little. But the biggest thing that we need for partial claims and zero claims is these last 2 things. When we have a fight with them, if that also doesn't work, there's nobody in that insurance company seems to be helping you quickly enough, you can raise an appeal to the ombudsman, and a good claim support person will do this, right? So it's not just answering something and telling ye cover hai, wo cover nahi, no, and they will use a lot of gray areas. So let me explain a gray area for everybody to understand the problem. So for example, in policies, dental, nothing is covered usually. In India, nothing dental is covered. Okay? So anything to do with teeth is not covered. It's written in the policy. But however, accidents are covered. These are the things. Sorry, just one last thing. Since you told about buying the policy, can I do one more minute on this point? Yeah. So this is the important thing, right? So now imagine I've told you all this and you've understood everything. And now the question is, from where do you buy this policy? Right? So, when you're buying this, like I said, you choose the company, but where do you buy? I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on, should we buy it directly online? So for example, I want to buy it from Niva Bupa. So do I go to Niva Bupa website? That is option 1. Option 2 is go to an aggregator like a Policy Bazaar or something, where you'll see all the different, it's online, but it's an aggregator. Option 3 is like an intermediary individual, means an agent who is like your neighbor, one person who's selling policies, some cousin, or some agent, some friend ka agent, or whatever it is, right? He's an individual agent. And the fourth is an intermediary provider, means it's a company. It's an intermediary company. It's like a company with, say, I don't know, 500 people who sell thousands of policies every month, and versus individual agent who sells this. So the problem with this is, the answer is actually the intermediary provider. Okay. The company. The reason being, and I'll explain the logic. So the first case here, this direct online people, like I told you, those gray areas, it's only between you and them. So usually it's nice between 2 people. If there is a jagda, why a third person should come, right? But the problem in this is that your goals are diametrically opposite. Unko kya karna hai? They want to save. Jitna bhi ho sake, they want to save in that claim. And humko kya hai? We want to get maximum out of it. So your diametrically opposite goals hote hain. So it's very hard to meet eye to eye. And un log ko kya? It's not a fair fight. मैंने बताया ना कि they know the policy through and through. हर clause उनको पता है, उन्होंने ही design किया है policy, so it's not a fair fight. The second is, ये जो aggregators होते हैं, fantastic, they'll get you a policy like this, no problem. But is this an instant use case? Because the real use case is at the time of claim, ना? तो claim के time में क्या होता है? These guys, ये जो aggregators होते हैं, उनको commissions मिलता है for every new policy जो बेचा जाता है उनके platform से. तो if कल अगर आपको कुछ problem होता है, and if you want to change उसके वजह से, they are happy only कि आपको jump मारना है, because you'll buy another policy from them, right? So this is not a good idea to take it from 1 and 2. 3 and 4 both are good, that you have somebody in between. The only difference is ये जो gray areas में, the fourth one usually has more power in the negotiation with the insurance company, because ये जो third वाला है, individual agent, वो maybe महीने में 5 HDFC के पॉलिसी भेजा जाता है उनके थ्रू, सेम पॉलिसी सबको मिलता है. बट नाउ देयर आर सम प्रोस फॉर दिस. डेफिनेटली कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव होता है. सो लाइक इफ दिव्या यू आर पेइंग फॉर योर पेरेंट्स इन योर कंपनी, इट वुड बी चीपर देन योर पेरेंट्स पेइंग फॉर देमसेल्व्स आउटसाइड, राइट? इट्स लेस रिस्ट्रिक्टिव. उसमें प्री एग्जिस्टिंग कंडीशन सब कवर हो जाता है फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग, राइट? सो इवन when we do this consultation with the seniors, we often ask them, do you have children in India? Where do they work? Do they have an option for cover? So that we can mix both together and give an optimal solution. And you have good support, because usually आपका जो HR होता है कंपनी में, they'll be quite supportive when an employee's parents are this thing, and उनके थ्रू, HR के थ्रू से ही ये पॉलिसी मिलता है ना, तो they will tell you a contact person etc. But इसमें प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है ना, फर्स्ट चीज ये है कि it's, remember the medical inflation that I said in the beginning, right? Things are very expensive. So now the coverage, ये जो होता है, ये जो ग्रुप पॉलिसीज होता है, लेस रिस्ट्रिक्टिव होता है, बट उसके वजह से एक्सपेंसिव होता है, like for the company to pay or for the employee to pay. It's not as cheap as we think. So coverage उसका 3 से 5 लाख होता है. I told you it's cheap, right? I told you cheap से मिलता है because they give only 3 लाख, 3 लाख का cover, 2 लाख का cover, maximum 5 लाख का cover usually, right? Only one company I've seen in all my experience that gives more than 8 lakhs or so, right? So most of them are very less, and these days typically we need about 10 to 25 lakhs of cover per year to really insulate seniors from all kinds of problems going forward. So the problem here is, one is low coverage. Second is, this is a perk that the company can remove anytime, right? It's not guaranteed. So nowadays, so many layoffs and all happen in Bangalore and other places in India, startups and corporates. So the first thing now, there's so much bad press that you see in many companies. First thing, instead of laying off people, they remove all the perks. They remove all the, all these things. Bonus नहीं मिलेगा, insurance का cancel करते हैं, ये cancel करते हैं, off-site cancel करते हैं, ये वो. So they do all these things because it's a lot of negative press for laying off. Na? So laying off, they keep it as the last thing. So the perk can be withdrawn anytime. The other thing is that your children can always move jobs. So, or they can move internationally, etc. So you don't have cover. The biggest problem we need to remember is that by the time your children do this, few years later, if you have a lot of pre-existing conditions, you have a heart issue or a lung issue or this, then nobody gives the policy. This is the irony. So that is why even if you have corporate insurance, you must have your own policy. You can use the corporate insurance as long as it's there. Think of it as something free that God has given, almost, right? As an option. And that's cool. My daughter, my son is having a perk. Let's use it. But not having a policy because you think you have corporate policy. I have a lot of seniors who have really struggling with it and who have a lot of problems because the moment their child changes jobs, they're already 68 years old and they can't get a single policy anywhere. And they are really, they're desperate. They can pay any amount of money, but they don't get a policy. Yeah.
That is so informative. Can we have other people ask questions? Anybody who has any questions can either
Yes.
mute yourself.
May I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, the one question is related to when somebody is hospitalized. Let's say that person has gone into a cashless admission, and then there are escalations in the medical condition happening for the patient. Now, this person has to be in the ICU, etc. So during every course of changes that are happening when the person is undergoing treatment, will the insurance company and the hospital authorities have interactions to see whether that is covered or not covered, or we will come to know only at the end of the treatment that these things were not disallowed, were not allowed by the insurance company?
So
Hope my
usually,
question is clear.
Yes. So usually when you check into a hospital, that is when you get admitted, there is an initial pre-approval, not the entire amount is approved, right? So see, first of all, we should remember that insurance companies have a lot of data of people. So, like let's say tomorrow, it's say this example is a heart-related condition. They know what can go wrong, what is the probability of it going wrong, and things like that. So initially what they do is they give an initial pre-approval. So they know that the hospital will say if all goes well, it's going to be 5 lakh, but it can go up to 10 lakh. So what they'll do is initially there's a pre-approval process of 5 lakh. And after that, when it goes forward, so the insurance company is kept aware of all this. And you can even contact your intermediary, someone in between, where you have taken the policy from, to ask that, okay, this has gone a little higher, or now they're doing an ICU thing, etc., etc. But usually, if it's a cashless case, which is in the example that you said, all this can be asked at the hospital's that insurance desk, because they can help you with all these things. So on a day-to-day basis, if like imagine it was expected to take 3 days, but now you're still in the hospital in the seventh day, right? So after that 3-4 days, and if the doctor says now there's a new thing we need to do, there's a complication, you can always go to the desk there and do it. If not, you can go to the intermediary, whoever has helped you take this policy, and find out.
Is there any restriction or any norms by how much percentage they can increase? Because though I have not claimed, and last year I was 70, but they are not hiked. This year they have hiked it. Is there any restrictions by government and all that so much percentage, or is it left to the insurance company? May I know that, please?
Yes, sir. So firstly, I want to just make it clear that India does not follow the system of claim-based loading. Claim-based loading means if somebody makes more claims, I'll take more premium from him. If someone makes 0 claims, I'll take less premium from him. Now, earlier, there was a system called claim-based loading. Few countries only follow claim-based loading. Most countries do not form claim, because just imagine when you do claim-based loading, that means once somebody falls ill at the age of 75, let's say they have a heart transplant, then the next year premium, when they need follow-up and anything can happen, their premium will go up from, say, 40,000 all the way to maybe 3 lakh rupees, right? Because it's claim-based. Because you have claimed a lot last year, you claimed 25 lakhs. So next year your premium may be 3 lakh. So India doesn't follow claim-based loading. So it works, but unfortunately then both sides. If you make more claim, your premium doesn't go up. You make 0 claims, also that doesn't mean that you will have low premium. Right? You will have a standard premium. So everyone's following a standard premium based on age.
And one more question regarding blacklisting of hospitals.
Yes,
Suppose they give a list, but subsequently they blacklist some hospitals. How are we to know about it? Should we check with them before going to the hospital, even though it is on the list?
Yeah, so what you should do is on their website. So always network hospitals, also the latest list will be on the website of the company. Same way, the blacklisted hospital, the latest list will be on the website. They're all next to each other. You can go and check it. So it's always good that when you're going for this thing, especially if it's a big one, if it's a small 10, 20,000, maybe not so risky, but anyway, why not check it? But always check the latest list.
Yeah, I get it.
You get it?
Yeah. And another thing, this government of India is now planning for, above 70 years, 5 lakhs premium, free insurance and all that. Maybe, hopefully, it comes in the next few months. It may help, especially the senior citizens. Maybe it is almost on the anvil. Maybe we can expect it earlier.
Right. That's true. That's true. I agree with you. It's a little bit experimental still, right? We don't know see, like you can see in today what I said, right? Just the policy of 5 lakh is not enough, right? The ifs and buts and the details are very important.
Thank you.
Because of that, I'm not sure whether this question has already been tackled or not. It's about Ayurveda.
Sure.
Right. Ayurvedic treatment is now very popular in certain states, especially in Kerala and in South India in general. I'm not sure about North India. I don't know, so I should not say anything about it. What happens is most of the insurance companies nowadays, they don't accept Ayurvedic treatment for reimbursement. Like the allopathic treatments and surgery and whatnot, Ayurveda has become very expensive these days. And if you go for a treatment of something like 3 weeks in a major or, rather known hospital, you will be spending something like 1 lakh of rupees easily. But when you go to the company concerned, even though the hospital may say that, yes, we have an attachment with insurance companies, etc., when it goes to the company concerned, the insurance company concerned, they will flatly deny you and they will not reimburse anything. Is there any law that says, or is there any company policy for any of the insurance companies to say that, no, sorry, we won't give you Ayurvedic treatment reimbursements? Or is there a policy which encourages from the government side, which help you get Ayurvedic treatment also, because nowadays Ayurveda is quite accepted all over the world. Not to speak of India. India, it is very popular in general, and I'm still wondering why Ayurvedic treatment is not considered for reimbursement of insurance. Thank you.
Sure, sir. So if you just look at the history, so thank you for that good question, sir. So if you look at the history of insurance, right? Insurance is more popular abroad. This concept started abroad, and then it has moved. So if you look at most of our companies, HDFC, Ergo. Now HDFC is Indian, Ergo is abroad. ICICI, Lombard. ICICI is Indian, Lombard. There's something called Ayush, AYUSH, and that is A for Ayurveda, U for Y for Yoga, U for Unani, S for Siddha, and H for homeopathy. So you must take policies. If you are a person who believes in any of these, or even if you don't believe, if you think that I just want this covered because I don't know what will be the best treatment at that point of time, please take policies which have Ayush covered, and that also Ayush without any limits. So if you have 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs it should cover up to 10 lakhs for Ayush. Not like Ayush will be only up to 1 lakh or 50,000 or something. So again, the same sublimits rule, but please, for everybody here interested in this, and I'm sure many seniors are, please take policies where Ayush is covered unconditionally.
I was trying to ask.
Let me ask you one question more regarding this Ayurvedic thing. How long is it since the insurance came into India? That's number one. And number two, the question is, you see, there are certain treatments which are exclusive to Ayurveda, which is not available in allopathy. For example, when you have rheumatic problems, you ought to go for certain types of massaging, you see, which is not available in allopathy. And that is what gives you real good, comfort. Comfort in the sense you are cured when you have a rheumatic problem, you have a back pain, or you have, numbness in your leg, etc. These are all diseases, isn't it? Whether you call it, in some terms or the other, these are all diseases, but still it's not covered. That's my point. So I would like you to answer these two questions, please.
Right. So firstly, I'm not an insurance company, okay? So I'll try to answer this to the best of my knowledge. The first thing is that insurance has been there even in the 90s here in India, but I mean, for it to really gain traction, how does insurance work? The more the number of people insured, the more affordable it becomes, because let's imagine just 5 people have to be insured versus 5 lakh people have to be insured. The price goes down drastically when 5 lakh people have to be insured. So the concept may have been there, but as a part of at least urban lifestyle or people, and people would not earlier have the money. I mean, seniors today are probably richer than they ever have been in the past compared to our ancestors, etc. So there is more dispensable income, and that's the reason why all this is happening. And now insurance is coming in the forefront. So that's to answer your question. I don't know the exact year it started, but it's been there since the 90s and all that. It's not something new, but it's only gaining traction now, and that's why all these. It's getting like the whole industry of insurance is becoming big in India, and so all these restrictions, and they're getting more into data, etc. The second thing is we need to understand one thing with insurance in general. Insurance is this is nothing to do with allopathy or Ayurveda or anything. It does not cover everything for comfort for the disease. Okay, so insurance by definition is for OPD. That means for not for OPD, IPD, sorry. Inpatient. So you have to be hospitalized in a place. So that's the first thing. So even in allopathy, for example, if I take a medicine tomorrow for reducing my the pain, that is not covered by any policy. So that has nothing to do with Ayurveda. So tomorrow if I go for a massage because my back is hurting, that is not covered by even allopathy. Okay. So you need to get hospitalized. That means this is hospitalization, big ticket items that is covered by insurance policies.
Hospitalized cases of 3 weeks to 4 weeks in a hospital, in a recognized hospital.
Right. So recognized, again, there's actually some affiliations, etc. that all hospitals should have. So there's some registration. So it should be a government approved Ayurveda place. I'm assuming it's that. So like I said, right, if your policy has Ayush covered in that, there is no way that they can say no to it. And if they have said no to it, unfortunately, probably you didn't have the right support at that time in the past. But at the same time, your policy may not be covering Ayush. You can probably get a review of it done and see whether your policy, or if it's somebody else that you know for whom this happened, check whether Ayush, AYUSH is covered. And if it is covered, not all policies cover it, very few do. These are all done online on the call, on phone. So we can help anybody do any review of their policy, etc., which is something we're going to come to.
So can I get your contact details or anything?
Exactly.
Coming.
Exactly, Sudhanshu sir. There is exactly what we were about to say. Rahul here has been very, very kind to offer free consultation to all of you present here, right? He will review your present health insurances or help you find a new health insurance, right? All you have to do is fill up the form, right? Or give a missed call on that number, which is on your screen. This message is again on the chat box, right? Once you do that, we will come back to you. The Greyup team will come back to you and address all your queries that you have. So Salim sir, Sudhanshu sir, please reach out and do this. Shakuntala ma'am, I understand you have a question which is very personal. You could do the same.
Or what I have to do? I have to again.
Ma'am, either you can give a missed call on this number on the screen or fill up the form, ma'am.
1 minute, please. I will note down the number.
Yes, ma'am. It's all on the chat box. You can just copy it from there, or you can just click the link immediately. It just asks you for 3 questions: your name, your number, and what kind of a question would you want to ask. It's as plain and simple as that.
So let me just speak a minute on that, right? So usually what we do, everyone, is we offer advice to people on 3 verticals: health insurance. We help seniors. We help seniors with health insurance, will, legal services, as well as tax planning and filing. Now, we have spoken about health insurance. Let me talk about that. So everybody here in this session, either if you want your policy reviewed for free, or if you don't have a policy and you want unbiased advice for a new policy, again, we're not a health insurance company. We want to help make sure seniors all across the country are well protected. So we will then help you understand what to choose. We will connect you. We have partners for all these. So we will connect you with somebody who sells policies, where we have given a template how to choose policies. They are an intermediary. They are called Ditto Insurance. So they are under Zerodha. Zerodha, if you've heard of Zerodha, Ditto is a big company also trying to sell policies transparently. So we have tied up with Ditto. We have given Ditto a template. These 3-4 things should be there. These 3-4 things we don't want for any of our seniors. So if you feel like you would like to do this, you can do this. I just want to talk to you. Now you can port policies. So earlier, porting policies was not possible. But now you can port your policy. So that means even if you have had a policy for the last 5 years or 15 years, you can move from that policy to another policy if you know the problems with your policy. Okay. Usually, I would always suggest, please review your policy once in 3 to 4 years. Don't keep it static forever, because the industry changes and more features keep coming. Like I talked about restoration, I talked about other things. So please review your policy once in 3 to 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years, to make sure that your policy that you have is benchmarked with the latest in the market, so that, because when you need it 10 years later, you should have the best one, right? So we will offer a free consultation to everybody here. And that's what I think Divya shared the link in the chat. You can fill that chat box. Alternatively, these are also our contact details, which you can note down or take a screenshot. We're happy to help anybody here who's come through.
Sir, for the youngsters, our children, do you provide service or only for seniors?
No. We do it for everybody. So lots of seniors like this, after they take it through us, if they like the work we do, they get their children also to take it through us. Yes. We help them. There's no difference.
Yes. Yeah. You are based at Bangalore, sir.
Yeah, we're a bunch of IITians that have started it, based in Bangalore, and Sukoon is a very good friend of ours, and we're trying to reach as many seniors as possible together.
Okay.
Any other questions? I hope
God bless you, sir. I also bless you. I bless you, all of you. You are doing a good job.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope you were able to answer as many questions.
We have not discussed that railway question. You have left it out.
So you can reach out to him personally and do that. That is why
just for knowledge. I was trying to get knowledge. I have seen it.
Right. No, please, if anybody else has any questions, please reach out to us. I hope you can use that form. That's the best way to reach out, or please call us and you can give us a call or write to us at the email that we had shown. But nice interacting with everyone. Thank you for all your questions. Yeah, I hope we can help each one of you in some way going forward.
Thanks very much for the enlightening call.
Thank you. Thank you,
Sure.
everyone.
Thank you for all the tips and comments. It was very, very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Sure,
appreciate
sir.
it.
I hope we
Thank
can help you further. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Rahul, for coming.
Thank you.